Colours, back in the building for another video. We're back again for episode 2 of our If We Had to Pick series. And this time around, we've got 2 very special albums that we're going to pit up against each other. And, you know, these 2 albums were made by 2 very, very special hip hop artists. And I feel like, Kay, I don't know if you want to chime in here, but I feel like these 2 artists over the last 10 years have been like the front runners in terms of hip hop music. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of like the top of the mountain, the commercial side of it, and also on the critically acclaimed side of it, more on one of the artists, they have been the front runner. So yeah.
Yeah, and continue to
oh yeah, 100%, and do continue to sort of lead the pack in some ways.
Yeah, continue to lead the pack, especially one of the artists that we're going to be speaking about. But yeah, to be fair, both of them have literally made a mark on this industry for the last 10 years. And I feel like they've still got, some years left in the tank. But without further ado, the 2 albums that we're going to be comparing today are Drake's Take Care and Kendrick's Good Kid, Mad City. Literally, these 2 albums, when they came out, I think they came out a year apart from each other. One of them came out in 2011 and the other came out in 2012. And, when both of them dropped, I mean, they made a huge mark on the culture. And even to this day, a lot of people say that these 2 albums are classics. These 2 artists have been at the front of hip hop for the last 10 or 11 years. So that's the reason why, we're going to compare these 2. And also, I feel like these 2 albums are the most talked about albums in each artist's discography. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like it's a good matchup in terms of us comparing these 2 albums. So yeah, previous video, you would know that we're going to be speaking about 4 main categories. And these categories are the buzz, the sonics, the replay value, and the cultural impact. So yeah, okay, let's just get straight into it.
Yeah.
Just in terms of the buzz for both of these albums, like looking back on it now, who do you feel like had the bigger buzz? Good Kid, Mad City or Take Care?
Take Care, and also Drake. I mean, by this time, he've already released a mixtape that had, I believe, Best I Ever Had, and some other hits as well, with the Trey Songz records as well. So,
and his first album as well.
Yeah, Thank Me Later, that had Fancy, also other notable hits on it as well. So when this album came out, it did, I think, over 500K in the first week. I mean, Drake was this commercial behemoth that he still is now. So his buzz before, going into the album was already huge. While with Kendrick Lamar, he just released Section 80, which was an underground hip hop album that I believe didn't sell too well during the first week, but he had done what 50 did early on in his career, and he linked with this behemoth, I think his label linked up with Interscope, who also linked up with Dr. Dre, and then they managed to sort of blow Kendrick to the proportion he's at now. So yeah, Drake 100% had the bigger hype.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I feel like Drake had the bigger hype, or Take Care as an album had the bigger hype, because by this point, Drake was somewhat kind of established.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So like you correctly said, he released So Far Gone in 2009, and then he followed that up with Thank Me Later, and that put him, on that sort of commercial pedestal, because he had already created such a buzz for himself with So Far Gone. You know what I'm saying, so like by the time he released Take Care, his sort of his buzz was out of this world, because I can remember Take Care came out just when we started UniK,
Yeah. We were sixth form going into
Yeah,
uni.
going
Yeah.
into uni, yeah. And I can remember, like, you know, everyone on campus playing Take Care when it came out.
Hey,
Yeah,
fam, that shit was the anthem. I can't lie,
it
fam.
was the
That shit
anthem,
was the anthem, fam. I can't deny that.
remember on that South K,
You hearing the motto? Doom,
yeah,
doom.
the motto.
Ah,
Yeah. So Drake was all over. You know, what I'm trying to say
yeah.
he was all over our screens. You know what I'm saying? And with Kendrick, that wasn't really the case. I mean,
Mm.
if you were really into hip hop music, you knew about Kendrick, but the
Yeah.
wider audience didn't really know about Kendrick. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Again, he released Section 80 beforehand, but that didn't really do anything over here. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It was mostly like you're saying, if you're into hip hop, then you would know
Exactly.
about Section 8. And I was also gonna say one thing as well, about Good Kid, Man C, because I was a bit late on Section 8. I obviously haven't heard this mixtape like overly dedicated. I think that came later. But then I'd
Yeah.
heard Section 80, I think a couple of months after it was released, because there's another guy called Ahmed on our sixth form that was listening to Section 80.
Right.
I heard a little bit later. And then Good Kid City, before Good Kid City came out and before he signed, I was also intrigued of how this will now change him as an artist in terms of his sound and his commercial appeal. And my God, like the difference between Good Kid and Section 80, which of course is a whole different point than what we are talking about now, but it's a sort of good add-on to the discussion about in terms of hype is, I mean, the difference is staggering. I mean, he literally blown up, not just in the sound and the execution in quality, but just of his the commercial imagery. Do you get me? Kendrick Lamar Section 80 is there's a different one than Good Kid, Mad City, but everything that was there before, even his mixtape days, is still present to today, fam. So he hasn't changed much as an artist, except from the overall quality and the imagery. So yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, for sure, K. No, I agree with you there. But yeah, Kendrick's buzz wasn't really there, even to the point, K, where Meek Mill kind of came out at that.
Oh yeah, with his Dream
even
Chasers,
even
Dream
Meek,
Chasers, yeah.
Even Meek Mill's buzz was bigger than Kendrick's because I can remember, K.
Oh, 100%. Dream Chasers was huge on campus.
Dream K, yeah. And
I remember that.
even
I fucking sorry.
even a lot of people were saying that, like, because at that point it wasn't Drake versus Kendrick, it was Meek Mill versus Kendrick. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of people were saying that, like, Meek Mill's going to be the one to sort of be more successful. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Obviously, that turned out not to really be the case. But people were looking at Meek Mill as opposed to Kendrick. People were looking at Kendrick as the underdog. You see what I'm trying to say? Yeah. And people were putting Meek Mill in that Drake bracket. So yeah, like Kendrick wasn't really, like, his buzz wasn't really there like that. It wasn't really there like that. Because when Good Kid, Mad City came out, there wasn't really any expectations. I like it. Like, there wasn't really.
No, it wasn't. And the record, like, he released Recipe, wasn't well received. I remember when that record came out. I think I liked it. I did add it, but I didn't think it was anything exceptional. And I did feel like it was very much of what Dr. Dre had kind of released. But obviously going into the Sonics of the album, but just talking about the singles like Swimming Pools, for example, I love that. I remember, that was another record, sorry, but when Swimming Pools came out, that was just, my God, I thought that was an astonishing record, fam. So yeah, like we are saying, in terms of buzz, the build-up prior, even before artists releasing the singles, Drake's was 100% the bigger artist, and I think he went to a bigger stratosphere with Take Care as well, I believe. But that's in terms of cultural impact, what we're gonna be talking about later on. But yeah,
exactly. And obviously, when Drake came out with Take Care, he had all the expectations in the world.
The sophomore expectation.
People expected it people expected him to sort of step up in terms of the levels. You know what I'm saying? And people expected him to do big numbers commercially. Whereas with Kendrick, there was no expectations. I'm trying to say there was none of that. People didn't even know if Kendrick what I'm saying, if Kendrick would have survived. You know what I'm saying?
That's also another good point that you're making as well. Like, it wasn't, like, in terms of the type of artist that he would have become, this is his debut. Could Keep My Series is his debut commercial tape. Do you get me? Not Section 80. Section 80 was his debut album, but in terms of him now on a major, or the label is on working with a major album, this was the biggest push. So yeah, the expectation were nil, but he executed and did it flawlessly. So shout out to Kendrick, man.
Yeah, but for this one, we'll give it to Drake.
Yeah.
So moving on to the Sonics now on both of these albums. So okay, I'll start off with you. What are the strengths and weaknesses on both of these albums? Starting off with Take Care.
On from the strength of Take Care, thematically or sonically with Take Care, the entire sort of sonic theme of the album does sort of persist very well. It doesn't sort of veneer from that R&B, like with certain records, sort of like moody, down-tempo, electronic with hip-hop records. That is sort of like that most of the records on the albums are mostly infused in one another as well. And also, loads of sort of commercial sort of records is sprinkled, on the album. But as a listening experience, that does hold up very well. It does give it, again, like I was saying, some sort of like structure listening to it. But the problem or the weakness with the album then comes down to certain individual records for me that I feel like don't hold up or kind of like are not executed that well enough. But then before we go on to the weakness on the album for me, I'm gonna go through a little bit of the strengths. So what makes which records make the album for me sort of pop or sort of stand out. So that's obviously records like Over My Dead Body. I do like Headlines, Crew Love, Take Care, Go, Doing It Wrong, and Look What You've Done. I think, and then the Motto as well. I might have forgotten other records, but those records are for me what the album sort of executes that sounds, cohesively throughout, fam. And those, in terms of like the songwriting, let's say for a record like Over My Dead Body, which is for me my favorite Drake record, when he talks about actually making it, I think that's, superb. Superb. It's a superb, beautiful record with that, sort of like vocal snippets of the, the woman playing with the woman in the background as well, and the beautiful sort of like electronic influence spliced into it as well. And then you got records like Cameras Go that executes, John B sample in the background like crazy. So it does execute those themes. Those are the strengths of the album. But then we go into the weaknesses of the album, and then we look at, let's say, records that I do not like the record with Make Me Proud with Nicki Minaj, Buried Alive with Kendrick Lamar, surprisingly. The Ride, which is completely forgettable. Will Be Fine. I do love the instrumentation of Will Be Fine, but unfortunately the sort of chorus let it down. But if we can isolate, let's say, a record, let's say like Buried Alive interlude, in terms of production, in terms of song composition, I feel like for me it is not the greatest. It could have been done better, but it's actually quite surprisingly, because lyrically, I believe Kendrick Lamar is pulling into this sort of psychological mindset that Drake doesn't pull very much on the album, talking psychologically from the perspective of, being emotionally hurt. Record like Make Me Proud. It's the instrumentation, it's this arpeggiating electronic sound that kind of sounds incredibly off as well, and with the chorus doesn't necessarily match. And I believe there's a similarity between the sort of like the chorus on the record like Will Be Fine, where there's like a mismatch, and in terms of like quality, it's not sort of well executed. And that the strength with Take Care, and I believe why I like the records, or why I like parts or great parts of the album, is what I mentioned earlier, but also lastly, to put it, is also records like Doing It Wrong, for example, when you're talking about not hurting this lover and this lover letting them go, so he doesn't, you know, end up lying. I feel like there's moments of extreme sincerity and extremely brilliant songwriting that makes some records on the album not stand out. And so it makes some records on the album that which not stands out for me stands out. So that's for me is the strength and weaknesses of Take Care. So Henry, what are your strengths and weaknesses of Take Care?
Like for me, I'll start off with the strengths, and I'll start off with what I do like about this album. I like the fact that this album is very consistent in its theme. You know, when you listen to Take Care, I think you even mentioned this when you were making your point, like the vulnerability and the sincerity in some of Drake's songwriting is it's very heartfelt. I can't even lie, you know. And me personally, I like an artist that can have that side to them, you know. I like an artist that can be open, that can be honest. You know what I'm trying to say. And I feel like Drake does that throughout the entirety of this album. You know what I'm saying? So the fact that, you know, he's consistent in his songwriting is something that I do really appreciate. The fact that obviously, you know, Drake blends, you know, R&B and hip hop in quite a lot of these songs. You know, obviously Drake's not the first one to do that, but I feel like he kind of mastered that, you know, and he took it to another level. And I just love the versatility, because he could be rapping 1 minute and then singing the next. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, it's that sort of unpredictability that I kind of, you know, appreciate. You know what I'm saying? Like, no track is really the same, if that makes sense. And yeah, like I just feel like some of the strongest records on this album are some of my favorite Drake songs of all time, like Over My Dead Body. I mean, Kay, we always talk about that song, but I really do feel like that song, yeah, is I don't want to go overboard and say like it's as good as something like an Eminem Stan, but it's sort of along that ballpark. You know what I'm trying to say? And that's something that I didn't really expect to hear from Drake, if I'm being honest with you. Sort of coming off his first album, Thank Me Later, like there wasn't a track like that on there. You know what I'm saying?
I agree.
Yeah. So Over My Dead Body is literally like the first song you hear off of the album, and yeah, man, it's a brilliant song. And I don't know who the female vocalist was on that track, but whoever that is, shout out to you, man. So yeah, like Over My Dead Body is literally one of my favorite Drake tracks of all time. Shot for Me is also one of the songs that I like from this album. And just going back to the point I made about vulnerability, I mean, Drake is sort of known for that. You know what I'm saying? Like he's known for being like very open and sincere in some of his records, and a track like Look What You Done For Me is another example of that, where he's obviously dedicating that song to his mum. You know what I'm saying? Essentially saying that, like, essentially giving his mum a shout out and thanking her for being there for him during his toughest moments. I mean, that's something that we can all relate to. You know, we've all been birthed by a mum, you know, or by a female, and obviously that's Drake. Just, I feel like in that song he's overcome with emotion. You know what I'm saying? Like he's overwhelmed because he's realizing that, yo, like, you know, I made it. You know what I'm saying? And even through the tough times, my mum is a big reason why I did. You know what I'm saying? It's just like having that, like that reflection that, yo, like this woman, she not only carried me for 9 to 10 months, but she also guided me through life. And I feel like obviously in that track, you know, he literally just, yeah, he sort of like openly dedicates it to his mum. You know what I'm saying? So again, I appreciate that. I appreciate that from Drake, and I could relate to it as well, you know, and I'm sure you could as well, bro. And then, you know, another track that I also fuck with is Lord Knows. And I feel like this is the Drake kind of showcases the aggressive side of his sort of like his sort of persona. You know, we all know, like I said before, Drake can rap and sing. But I feel like Drake, you know, on this record wants to remind people that even though he can sing and he can do the soft R&B thing and he can sort of, you know, pull his heart out on the track, he can also fucking spit as well. You know what I'm saying? And I love that. Yeah, I just love the aggressiveness of this track, man, you know, and obviously the Rick Ross feature as well. We all know that Rick Ross and Drake, they like to link up, and they've got, you know, they've got some classic songs together. And I feel like
this is the first one, isn't it? Or maybe I think this might just be the first one or the second one.
No, I think Aston Martin Music was the first one.
Okay, yeah, that was a year before, innit? Yeah.
One of the first ones, yeah. And this is like the second or third, but it's still a great track nonetheless. And for me, it's one of my favorite Rick Ross and Drake collabs, you know what I'm saying, of all time. And then another track that I really liked, you know, me being the R&B connoisseur, I'm sure you're not surprised about this one, Kay. Cameras, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The sample, you know, of, I don't know if a lot of our viewers know who the sample was taken from, but it's one of literally my favorite R&B songs of all time. The way that sample was executed, like I'm very big on, you know, artists sampling R&B records in it. Like sometimes, yeah, like I just feel like it's a placeholder and they don't really add anything to the song, or it doesn't really add anything to the song, and they just put it there and just loop it and this spit a couple bars to it. But this was executed to perfection. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, me being the R&B connoisseur, you know that I definitely appreciated that one. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, that's a great track. But like, you know, moving along to the things I don't like about this album, or the weaknesses, is I feel like at times here with some of the records, Drake gets lazy. 4 or 5 records on this album that don't really like add to this album at all. Do you got what I'm trying to say? Like Drake just put it just to make up the numbers. For example, "Make Me Proud," like that's by far the worst song on this album.
And it was a single as well.
Yeah, and I didn't even know that. Kay, you pointed that out to me earlier. Like it was a single, and it did all right, didn't it? Like
it did. It went platinum, but I can't remember how high it tried. But it sold enough to so it did its job. But no one talks about it actually. Anyway,
I mean, when you compare that to "Over My Dead Body," for example, or "Doing It Wrong,"
or even the motto, which is another single.
Like yeah. It's like what, you know, like Drake, where did you know what I'm saying? You know, like where did it all go wrong? You know what I'm trying to say? Like, how can you put a song like that on this album? You know, when you got songs like "Over My Dead Body," you know, the motto, etc. Like that song just didn't make sense to me, you know. And I feel like Drake just recorded that just for the sake of it.
I think it was a chart grabber. Like they were clearly aiming, you know, these two massive Italian artists to link up together and, you know, to create something, and, you know, to get like a number one. That's the only reason why they made that record.
Exactly.
And in terms of the quality, it suffered. It's not like "Moment for Life" or Nicki Minaj Pink Friday album. I think it was just a brilliant song.
We'll Be Fine. Again, I don't really feel like that song was all that great. I appreciated the Birdman interlude.
Yeah, Birdman's interlude always makes it sweet.
Yeah. The shit talking aspect of that record from Birdman, like I did fuck with it, but the overall song, you know, I'm not really too keen on it.
Yeah,
if I'm being honest. And just even what's another song? The Ride as well. That's another one. Like similar to you, man. Again, pointless record. I know. I think he tried to. I think is there a sample on that record?
I can't. Sorry, go on.
I think yeah. There may be a sample on that record. You know what I'm trying to say?
Possibly, yeah.
And Drake is spitting over that sample, but yeah, like again, you know, Drake didn't execute that well, in my opinion. You know, and I feel like that song just didn't need to be on there. So there are about 4 or 5 songs that if I had the choice, to remove, I would remove it. You know, some of these records, Drake just tried to go for the commercial hit. You know, because when you think about it, Drake was still pretty, like he was still pretty. It was still early days for him.
Yeah.
You know, just come out basically. Because I think Take Care got released in 2011. So Far Gone got released in 2009.
Yeah.
So yeah, he was only 2 years.
Yeah, 2 years in the game.
Yeah, so I feel like some of these records, he was just trying to search for that commercial hit. To get
Yeah.
but yeah, for me, those yeah, for me, those are the main weaknesses of this album. Okay, cool. So we've talked about the strengths and weaknesses of Take Care. Okay, so moving along to Good Kid, Mad City. What are the strengths do you feel?
The strength.
How do you think it compares with Take Care?
Take Care. I mean, of course, it's for me. I'll go to say that there are no weakness on Good Kid with Mad City. Because as an album and the way it's executed, I feel like maybe what's there adds on to the album, and even removing it for whatever minor issues that there is would sort of weaken the album. But for me, the strength of the album, it is what Kendrick Lamar advertised or actually says on the album. It is a short film. I mean, it's extensive song cycle with storytelling verses that sort of interlink with all of the records on the album as well. And all of the records paint a picture about, you know, the Compton environment, but from different sort of perspectives as well. And it's an interesting, and it's a beautiful sort of mix between personal experience and also other people's experience, you know, like a record like Sing About Me, I'm Dying for Thirst, etc. And the strength very much lies in not just the production, which sort of captures their sort of the anxiety of living the environment, like I believe like Mad City, but also they you know, the sadness, like Sing About Me, Dying for Thirst as well. And also the how exhilarating it could be, like a record like Money Trees. Like listen to records, you feel like, you know, you are with those with this bunch of niggas, and they're literally like in a group and literally like spitting, like you do get all of that particular feel. And it's the storytelling. It's just the storytelling that it is as gut-wrenching and heart-wrenching, or I was just said the same word twice, but it just is gripping, introspective. It is vulnerable. It is extraordinarily sad, which makes this album beautiful. Do you get me? And that's why for me, the strength sort of outlays the weaknesses. And if I would say, if there are any sort of weaknesses maybe on the album, possibly would be that maybe some of the records are similar to an extent. Do you get me? Or there's a repeat of the overall theme of the story of the album. But I still don't mind it because it's almost like a reminder of it all in some capacity. And that contrasts with, let's say, like Take Care, where it's not as meticulous as Good Kid and Mad City. Like there is obvious record, like we mentioned, like the Nicki Minaj record, Make Me Proud, or records like We'll Be Fine. But let's isolate a record like Make Me Proud. We could compare it to a record, like, let's say Poetic Justice, which someone would, you know, looking at it, say that is a commercial record. With the Poetic Justice, it fit perfectly with the album, and also not just the way it fits with it perfectly with the album. It's almost like hearing that sort of sounds fits in, you know, with the character sound of living in an environment where those type of records or those type of music will be played. And also with the story with him meeting Shireen, do you get me? And linking up with Shireen as well. But a record like Making Me Proud, although it does, I mean, it's similar to a record like Shoot for Me and Practice. So I believe in terms of the lyrical aspect, it would fit. It's just that there are records that are already doing that job, and also the execution of it in terms of like the chorus of it, and just Nicki Minaj part just leaves a lot to be wanting. While with Poetic Justice, it just feels it's more embedded with the album. So
yeah. One of the similarities of both albums, are the fact that both of these albums are very personal, but in different
yeah,
ways.
in different capacity, 100%. I do agree with you.
Yeah. They're both albums that, you know, have drawn from each other's experience.
Yeah. You're kind of like Good Kid, Mad City. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. And obviously Drake with, you know, obviously all of the heartbreak and all of the sort of.
And also, I think again with the Take Care comes from, you know, this rich, successful person, you know, in this life, and they are like their love life is completely like their love life is non-existent. You know, there's this issues with this girl.
Yeah,
so on.
It's a lot of insecurity.
Like, a lot of insecurities around it. A lot of issues around the love life. Yeah.
I know. Even Kevin, we've joked about this in the past, but just look at the album cover.
Yeah, I mean, look, Take Care. I mean, like the album cover explains 100% what you're saying. The album cover explains very much what the songs are all about on the album, and like you're saying, 100% they all draw from the experiences, and that's probably the strength and the extreme similarities that both albums have. What are your strengths and weaknesses of Good Kid?
Yeah, man, I feel like the storytelling is far the biggest strength, and the way Kendrick's able to sort of like express himself, you know, and artistically express himself, like it's like, honestly, I was literally blown away by Good Kid, Mad City the first time I heard it, and even to this day I'm still blown away, because Kendrick makes me feel like, even though I didn't grow up in Compton, and I didn't grow up in that sort of environment, you know, I grew up in a semi rough environment, but not compared to what
Compton,
yeah, Compton, that's a different beast, bro. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Even though I didn't grow up there, through this album, I feel like I can relate to Kendrick. You understand?
Or at least relate to people that were in your school year who had that rough upbringing that Kendrick Lamar is talking about.
Yes. Like I can feel his pain through the majority of the songs on this album. Like I can visualize what he went through. You understand? Even though I wasn't there, you know. And even I can relate to a couple of the songs on here, like Art of Peer Pressure.
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, bro, we've all been there. You know, we've all been through situations that we shouldn't have got ourselves in, but we've got ourselves in those situations because of the people that
around us,
and that this sort of encapsulates what this whole album is about. Good Kid, Mad City. Understand? Kendrick was a good youth, but because he was in a mad city, he got caught up in a lot of bullshit. Understand? So that's something I can definitely relate to. You know, obviously having grown up in the era that I grew up in, you know, there was a lot of bad influences around, and being a kid, like, you're very impressionable. You understand? And it's like that saying that goes, you are a product of your environment. And I feel like that song
encapsulates that, explains that.
Explains that perfectly. And then you go on to songs like or you move on to songs like Money Trees. Like that is literally sort of top 2 or 3 favorite Kendrick tracks of all time.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Like it's an incredible song. You understand? And again, it just further explains Kendrick's mindset at the time. Like, even though he was a good kid, he he still like he still couldn't escape the type of environment that he was in at the time, you know, and yeah.
And I can also, to show, not just to cut you off there, but there's a social commentary that is sort of like sprinkled throughout, like a record like Money Dreams and him saying, what's it called? The dreams of living like our rappers do, like rappers do, like rappers do. It's brilliant social commentary that is literally around the track, which again further your point of us being in that environment, experiencing it with them. But yeah, sorry, continue.
Yeah, and even Kendrick jumps into his sort of R&B bag to what Drake did with Cameras.
Yeah.
Kendrick jumps into his R&B bag with Poetic Justice. Obviously, Kendrick's not singing on the record, but obviously sampled, one of my favorite R&B
Easy,
records.
same as well.
Yeah. Janet Jackson, yeah, like and again, similar to Cameras on Take Care, I feel like that was executed to perfection.
Yeah, it's exceptional. The execution on that record is exceptional, 100%.
It's exceptional, and that just goes to show like the versatility of someone like Kendrick, that he can rap on softer melodic songs like that, and it doesn't seem like he's out of place.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? With Kendrick as well, like this just for me, this embodies his greatness. Even more commercial records that he put out off of this record, like Swimming Pools, like that was meant to be a radio record, but it doesn't really sound like a radio record. Do you get what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's too serious for it to be a radio.
Yeah, like, but it's still great though.
Yeah, 100%, 100%.
You know, a lot of radio records, like a lot of radio records can be diluted, for the radio, so it's sort of easier for the listener to sort of take it in and enjoy it.
You know what I would compare it to? It's like an All Falls Down. Do you get me? It's like
exactly.
All Falls Down had loads of social commentary in it, and so that Swimming Pool have loads of social commentary, but it kind of gets the perfect balance between being accessible to other people and not being not accessible. So yeah.
And just literally, if this album wasn't already good enough, I mean, I compare it to Eminem's Stan, and I think you know what song I'm talking about. Sing About Me. You know? I mean, wow. I mean, like that to me, is Kendrick's greatest ever song.
Yeah,
I'm saying made. Period.
And I would like to add as well. I think that's in my probably top 10 favorite hip hop records of all time. It's just. Yeah. It's beautiful, man. It's beautiful in a very sad way that life can actually be like that, basically.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, just in terms of weaknesses, Kev, I really don't think this album has any weaknesses. To be honest with you, like, I'm struggling to even come up with one. I know if I was to come up with one, I'll just be sort of forcing it. You know what I mean? Like picking something that's not really there. So. In my humble opinion, like this album is close to perfect. I say it's close to perfect. So yeah. Now moving on to the replay value for both of these albums. Yeah. I'm gonna start off, and in my honest opinion, I don't really think it's that close. But then again, I have to be fair to Take Care. I mean, when Take Care first came out, as you know, Kay, I was a big Drake stan. So this album was on serious repeat for me, and even when Good Kid, Mad City came out the year after, this album was Take Care, was still played more for me than Good Kid, Mad City was. But obviously when my musical ears started to evolve, Good Kid, Mad City took the crown. You know what I'm saying? Good Kid, Mad City was on constant repeat, and I didn't really listen to Take Care anymore like that. I still thought it was a good album, but I came to the conclusion that Good Kid, Mad City was definitely the better album for me. So even to this day, okay, like I still listen to Good Kid, Mad City. I listened to it the other day, in fact. Whereas with Take Care, even though back then I listened to it religiously, and like I said before, I even bought the album on iTunes. I don't really listen to Take Care like that no more. I think the last time I listened to it was a couple years ago now. So when it comes to replay value, in my humble opinion, it's not even that close. It's Good Kid, Mad City all day, every day. But what about you?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with your sentiment. With me, with Take Care, it's actually quite weird because when Thank Me Later came out, I actually did listen to that album, and I did add a lot of songs, and I did like it. With Take Care, I don't think I did. I don't think I did like the album. I mean, I know I heard it. I did like some of the singles, but for some reason, I didn't go out of my way to actually include the, to actually, add the album onto my Spotify list. And over the years, it is a good album. Don't get me wrong, but it's not like Good Kid, Mad City for me, where I added it in, and it never has left, and it still does get a lot of listen or more listen than Take Care. And again, it's for the reasons that we mentioned in the Sonics of why I think it gets so much replay value. I mean, again, it's because of Kendrick Lamar exceptional storytelling, and also how heartfelt it can be, and also in gripping and moving. But yeah, for me, 100%, I'll go with Good Kid in terms of replay value.
Yeah, because just in terms of certain songs on Take Care, like Over My Dead Body and Cameras, like I do still listen to.
Oh yeah, 100%, same as well.
But as an album,
as a whole,
as a whole, like Good Kid, Mad City is still on heavy rotation.
Mm-hmm.
It's still on heavy rotation. Whereas there's certain songs that I'll take off of Good Kid, off of Take Care, and listen to it to this very day. But as an album, that's not the case. So yeah, for me, it's definitely Good Kid, Mad City, man.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that album has aged a lot better than Take Care has.
100%. I agree with you on that point. And like you're saying, 100%, I would like if the album, if Take Care was released without some of the record that you mentioned that could be removed out of it, it would have made a difference. Do you get me? Those records, they shouldn't. Them being on there is not bad, but removing out of there actually makes the album a bit more cohesive and less longer. While with Good Kid, Mad City, remove any of them, and then it's like, my God, do you get me?
Yeah. That's very true. That's very true. We both share the same opinion that in regards to replay value, this one goes to Good Kid, Mad City. Okay, cool. Yeah. Lastly, we're going to speak about the cultural impact for both of these albums. Okay. Without further ado, just in terms of cultural impact, like what album do you feel like had the biggest cultural impact?
Wow, that's very interesting. It depends on what aspect, really. In terms of the cultural impact that Take Care had done, I believe it definitely cemented introspective rap or rappers or hip-hop artists being even more vulnerable at the top commercial stage that Drake was, before. I mean, before there was the machism. Obviously, Kanye was big part of breaking those barriers, and then we also have Kid Cudi and other people that came before that. But this album definitely pushed that much further as well. And also Drake's ability not just to mar with R&B, but to also mar with other sort of like moody, sort of like electronic R&B sort of sounds as well, and to mesh that in with hip hop. That what's it called? That 40 sound. Do you get me? That 40 sound became like the standard sound with a lot of people sort of like jumped upon as well. And I feel that also influenced what other R&B artists ended up sort of putting in their music as well. So it's in terms of the Sonics and in terms of hip hop alone, it's a very influential album. With Good Kid, Mad City, it's almost like a different take on it in terms of just the sonic sounds. Okay, in terms of the cultural impact for Good Kid, Mad City, sonically, I don't think necessarily it wasn't as ubiquitous as the 40 sound was on Take Care, but I do. It's like quite interesting. I don't think it actually was, I didn't see rappers that was the same mode as Kendrick Lamar to still have the big commercial success and also make the type of record he has to then follow in his footprint or even in his sound. However, it's still, in terms of the social commentary and the way it was executed on the album, I think that was the biggest cultural impact of that album, unlike Take Care. And it has, again, hip-hop has changed. Hip-hop has changed so much. I think trap rap and drill rap that is obviously as prominent now was in its infancy then, and is completely taken over some of the principles that were present before. So I wouldn't say much for Good Kid, M.A.A.D, but what it did for the Kendrick Lamar as an artist, it propelled him to a bigger stratosphere, and he became this commercial behemoth, and also this critical artist that people take extremely seriously. While with Take Care, if I hadn't mentioned it before, commercially, Drake was already the big commercial. He stayed big commercially, and it was just more of the same, really. So I think that's the cultural impact, unless I got something wrong, which hopefully people down below can leave a comment and give us some pointers. But nonetheless, what do you think, Henry?
When it comes to the cultural impact of both of these albums, I definitely feel like Take Care takes this one, because when Take Care came out, I feel like it shaped hip hop with craft and emotional honesty. And even though Drake wasn't the first artist to rap and sing on records, I feel like he sort of took it to another level. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like he influenced a lot of the rappers that we see today. A lot of the melodic rappers that we see today. The Roddy Riches, and artists like that. So I feel like Take Care allowed, because obviously Take Care, like Drake is literally pouring his heart out on the entirety of the album, and he's coming from a very sort of, I wouldn't like to say insecure, but maybe the right word to use is vulnerable. I'm saying, like, he's literally showing his vulnerable side, and I feel like he made it okay for a lot of these new age rappers to do that. You know what I mean? I feel like when Take Care came out, like I said before, when we were talking about the buzz, I feel like Drake was just, like, obviously he was on top of his game, innit? And I feel like a lot of, I'm trying to think, man. When this album came out, you had a lot of artists after this album came out now wanting to sort of, if they were rappers, they wanted to sort of sing on records as well. And if they were R&B singers, they wanted to rap on records. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like Drake sort of influenced that sort of wave. Come to that time of this segment where we now have to pick out of the two albums which one we prefer and which one we think is better. So starting off with you, bro. Good Kid, M.A.A.D or Take Care? Which one would you pick and why?
I mean, yeah, going on from the discussions that we had on different sort of sections that we talked about of the criteria, then 100% is Good Kid, M.A.A.D. I feel it's the better sequenced album. The production offers interesting element to it as well, and of course the songwriting is exceptional. I mean, he talks about different perspective, and also just his ability as a rapper, like his flows, like he's able to execute complicated flows so seamlessly and so well, and it just adds to the overall listening experience. That's why I would take Good Kid over Take Care. But again, that's not to say that's not to take anything away from the sort of atmospheric R&B, and also sort of like moody and like kind of like I wouldn't say depressed, but like down, you know, music that Take Care has, and also how beautiful it sounds. But yeah, for me, it's Good Kid, Mad City. So what about you, Henry? Which one would you pick?
If I had to pick out of these two albums, man, I'll definitely pick Good Kid, Mad City. That's not to say that Take Care is not a good album. I do think it is a good album, but I feel like, you know, Good Kid, Mad City offers me more as a listener. You know, I feel like the production's better. I feel like the songwriting's better. I feel like near enough every category is better. And, you know, I do appreciate Drake's, you know, vulnerability on Take Care. I can definitely appreciate that. And there's some great records on Take Care, but I feel like as a body of work, you know, this doesn't really come that close to Good Kid, Mad City. Like, I'll sum it up like this. There are records, yeah, that there are a few records that I can take off Take Care, you know, and not bat an eyelid. But with Good Kid, Mad City, I'll struggle to take even one record off of there, you know.
And sorry to cut you off, but adding on to that as well, it's like listening to Good Kid, Mad City. It's like you have to listen to the entire album. Do you get me? Because it feels like you're missing things out. While with Take Care, it's like it's okay, like you're saying, to remove some records and I listen to some of the records, and you're still able to get the full gist of the album. But with Take Care, it's like, hold on, you gotta hear Mad City. Do you get me? You can't leave. You gotta hear Art of Peer Pressure. You can't leave that out. But yeah, go on.
Yeah, facts. And even like, I also, you know, sum it up like this. Like, I haven't listened to Take Care in years, but I can still listen to Good Kid, Mad City. You know what I'm trying to say? Like, I even listened to the other day. You know what I'm trying to say? So, like, for me, it's kind of a no-brainer. And I feel like Good Kid, Mad City will go down as a universal classic. I think it's a classic.
I think it's already a universal classic, to be honest.
Yeah.
Everyone calls it his. I think, to be honest, Kendrick Lamar probably has 3 classics. People Butterfly is universal classic. Good Kid is universal classic. Well, with Take Care, even we struggled to sort of. Our opinion of Take Care is that it's not a classic. It's a good album, but it's not a classic for the obvious reason that we have mentioned just now.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, sorry, go on, Henry.
No, it's fine, bro. Yeah, like I don't really feel like Take Care is a classic. I know quite a few people disagree with me, but I don't feel like Take Care is even Drake's best album. You know, K, I've even told you this in private. I think Nothing Was the Same is Drake's best album. Again, that's not to take away from Take Care. But like, I don't even feel like Take Care is Drake's best album. I think Nothing Was the Same sorry. So yeah. With all that being said, if I had to pick one, I'd pick Kendrick, Good Kid, Mad City. There you have it. You know, we want to know what you guys think in the comment section. Obviously, this is what this segment is for, so you guys can interact with us. Do you guys prefer Good Kid, Mad City, or do you guys prefer Take Care? Please let us know in the comment section below. Get to like, comment, and subscribe. And yeah, let us know what you guys think. We'll be back again real soon with episode 3 of If We Had to Pick. But until then, peace.
Liz.